New shadowing. Midwives are in a short supply and is impacting the safety of moms and babies. It's the end of the long week on the maternity ward. Tara Madam has been in labor for 2 days. Tara needs the close attention of her midwives. But she's not the only woman counting on their support. John and Connor Women's and Children's Hospital is one of the busiest maternity services in Victoria. It supports thousands of families in Melbourne's rapidly growing West every year. Sue No is one of the midwives in charge. The main thing is I know we're looking okay here. After handover from night shift, she has stressed into morning rounds. The first induction is met in the room 47. Sue will attend the birth of every baby born in the next 12 hours. So we usually deliver 18 to 25 babies per day, which means we are delivering 6,500 babies per year. It is one of the most busiest tertiary hospital in Australia. So today we're gonna put the canoe. We of course are doing all the clinical things, but also we emotionally connect with the patients, with the women, and we give all the moral and emotional support during their labor and the birth. So during their kind of 65 births every year, it's an intensive job. Not many people, and at any moment things can take a turn. The heart rate of a born baby had suddenly dropped. The team quickly stabilized the mom and Bob. It shows how quickly things can change, and it's life-saving work. I would just give the iron but services like John Connor has been under significant pressure in recent years because of serious workforce shortages. In some part of the country, maternity units has been forced to close, while others are struggling to keep in with demand. I think absolutely services have been under pressure, and I think the COVID pandemic really highlighted and exacerbated quite a lot of the pressure that we probably was starting to see before the pandemic hit. National workforce figures show there are 1,200 few people working in midwifery and worse than 6 years ago. That just despite the record 315,000 babies being born in 2021. Last year, the National Skills Commission found there are midwife shortages in every state. What our members are talking with us about is, on a daily basis, a shortage of experienced midwife on every shift. The union estimates at one major Sydney hospital alone, there were 23 vacant midwife positions last month. What it means is that midwife on a shift-by-shift basis has been to decision about who's getting their care at the moment and who's not, and not knowing what's in the room further down the corridor. As part of the crowdsourced investigation into maternity care, the ABC heard from more than 400 midwives across the country. Many of them told us understaffing has serious impacts on patients' care, and that at times it felt unsafe. Perth mom Rhian Darby experiences this firsthand when she gave birth to her Taz in 2022. A week before her due date, she was told she needs to be induced. But when she got to hospital, they didn't have enough midwife for her to safely give birth. Every time mother asked to get updated or something was always, we don't have midwife, we don't have the birthing stuff available. Rhea spent 4 nights alone on the maternity ward, heavily pregnant with Taj, waiting. It was extremely lonely, frustrating because it's also during COVID, so like visitations was very limited. My husband was still working, so he couldn't come at the night time period. At one point, she was offered general section just so she could give birth. I haven't even asked the doctor if I go regional, like I have happy to drive to wherever, if it was the sort of thing it says it's over the state. While the worst day of the pandemic may be behind us, midwifery researcher Robin Matthews says those experiences have taken a toll on staff. In 2021, she surveyed midwives in Victoria and found 3/4 were feeling burnt out, and 40% were regularly thinking about leaving the profession. The midwife really liked the work that I do, but they report feeling really exhausted and the workload incredibly heavy, that the ratios, the number of women and babies they're looking after wasn't safe. They don't feel like they are able to provide quality care within that. She said being unable to support women at such a critical time is causing midwife distress. So the more that you don't get to the care for a way you want to, the more that affects you emotionally. When you become a burnt out, you become cynical. And the worst thing in the world is midwife who doesn't care about the women she's looking after because she's nothing left. Assistant Health Minister Jess Kine says the government is currently reviewing the midwifery workforce and looking at ways to attract and retain more staff. We need to make sure there is a robust workforce, then enough people going into midwifery they can have filling careers and work to their full scope of practice, but we also need to make sure that those services are where they need it. The union says action is needed now to support midwife. Improved workloads across the country will help retain the midwife that we have today. We are aiming to make a positive experience for women and for their families, and it is absolutely privileged. Giving babies and new moms the best start. Olivia Williams, ABC News. One more. It's the end of the long week of the maternity ward. Tori Meadow has been in labor for 2 days. Tori needs the close attention of her midwife, but she's not the only woman counting on their support. Joint Caring Women's and Children's Hospital is one of the busiest maternity services in Victoria. It supports 1,000 families in Melbourne after growing west every year. So no, it's one of the midwives in charge. The main thing I know we're looking okay here. After handover from night shift, she has stressed into morning round. The first instruction is met in the room 47. Sue will attend the birth of every baby born in the next 12 hours. So we usually deliver 80 to 25 babies per day, which means we are delivering 6,500 babies per year. It is one of the most busiest tertiary hospitals in Australia. Of course, all the clinical things, but also we emotionally connect with the patients, with the women, and we give all the motor and emotional support during their labor and the birth. It's an intensive job. Not many people, and at any moment, things can take a turn. The heart rate of unborn baby has suddenly dropped. The team quickly stabilized the mom and Bob. It shows how quickly things can change, and it's life-saving work. But services like John Connor has been under significant pressure in recent years because of serious workforce shortages. In some part of the country, maternity unit has been forced to close, while others are struggling to keep up with demand. I think absolutely services has been under pressure, and I think the COVID pandemic really highlighted and exacerbated quite a lot of pressure that we probably started to see before the pandemic hit. National workforce figures show that 1,200 few people working in midwifery now than were 6 years ago. That despite records 315,000 babies being born in 2021. Last year, the National Skills Commission found a midwife shortage in every state. What our members are talking with us about is on a daily basis stories of experiences midwife on every shift. The union estimates annual major Sydney hospital alone, there were 23 vacant midwife positions last month. What I mean is the midwife on shift-by-shift basis and having a decision about who's getting their care at the moment and who's not knowing what's in the room further down the corridor. As part of the Crown Source investigation into maternity care, the ABC heard from more than 400 midwives across the country. Many of them told us understanding the serious impacts on patients' care and the time it felt unsafe. Perth mom Rian Darby experienced this firsthand when she gave birth to her son Tosh in 2022. A week before her due date, she was told the needs to be induced. But when she got to hospital, they didn't have enough midwife for her to safe give the birth. Every time was asked at a test or something was always, we don't have midwife, we don't have the birth stopper available. At one point, she was offered during section just so she could give birth. I didn't ask the doctor if I got reasonable like I have to drive to wherever, if it was sort of things we had of the state. While the worst day of pandemic may be behind us, midwifery researcher Robin Matthews says those experiences have taken toll on staff. In 2021, she says midwives in Victoria and found 3/4 were feeling burnt out and 40% were regularly thinking about leaving the profession. She says being unable to support women at such critical time is causing midwife distress. So the more than you don't get the care where they use want to, more than affects you emotionally. When burnt out, you become cynical. And worst thing in the world is midwife who doesn't care about the women she's looking after because she's going nothing left. Government is currently leaving the midwifery workforce and looking at ways to attract and retain more staff. We need to make sure there is a robust workforce, enough people going into midwifery that can have fulfilling careers and work to a full scope of practice, but we also need to make sure that the services where they need it. But union says action is needed now to support midwife. Improved workload across the country will help retain the midwife that we have today. We are aiming to make a positive experience for women and for their families, and is absolutely privileged. Giving babies and new moms the best start. Olivia Williams, ABC News.